The film begins with Taylor, an art and film student, working on her final documentary project. She chooses a topic that is both strange and terrifying, unaware of how dangerous it will soon become. Standing near a graveyard, she records her introduction, explaining how the city is known for its worst slashers, ruthless killers who murder without reason and leave behind no trace of evidence. While most people see these slashers as pure evil, Taylor has a different perspective. She believes that these killers must have suffered deeply in their childhood, and that pain eventually turned into revenge as they grew older. Because of this belief, she doesn't see them as monsters, but as broken people shaped by their past. As she continues her exploration, she comes across an old abandoned house tied to a horrifying story. Years ago, a young boy named Leslie murdered his own parents inside that very house. The townspeople were so terrified of him that instead of calling the police, they decided to take matters into their own hands. Knowing that the law would not punish a child, they threw Leslie into the river, hoping to end his life and stop the danger forever. But the truth is far more disturbing. Leslie survived. Now, years later, he has returned, carrying nothing but revenge in his heart. Taylor, fascinated by his story, decides to take things further. She reveals that she has already contacted Leslie and convinced him to be part of her documentary. She enters the house and begins interviewing him, asking why he has come back after all these years. Leslie calmly explains that he returned for revenge. He reveals that ever since the news of his death spread, people have been visiting the house every year during Halloween, treating it like a place for fun and adventure. But this time, he plans to turn their celebration into something far more terrifying. When Taylor asks if he will show her how he plans to kill, Leslie agrees without hesitation. He even takes her to his eerie garden, a place filled with trees that feels more like a dark, lifeless forest. From that moment on, Taylor stays close to him, documenting every move he makes. She soon notices that Leslie follows a strict routine. He wakes up early every day and trains his body intensely, staying physically strong. Curious, Taylor asks him why he pushes himself so hard, and Leslie gives a chilling answer. If he is not strong enough, his victims might escape. Leslie then takes her to a university, where he decides to reveal his full plan. He explains that killing is not random for him. He carefully selects his targets, studies them, stalks them, and only then traps them before making his move. This time, his target is not just one person, but an entire group. He plans to kill all of them, leaving only one girl alive, but even that survival is part of his plan. He wants it to look like she escaped, when in reality, he will be the one letting her go. When Taylor asks who that girl is, Leslie takes her to an ice cream shop and shows her a young girl working there. He explains that she is kind and innocent, and that is exactly why he has chosen to spare her. Taylor suggests talking to the girl, but Leslie immediately shuts her down. He warns her not to interfere, saying she might ruin everything. However, he offers her something else, something even more disturbing to record. He decides to demonstrate how slashers play mind games with their victims. He explains that fear is their greatest weapon, and before killing, they make sure their target feels completely isolated and helpless. To prove his point, Leslie sets up a trap by tying a heavy object to a door. When the girl steps out to throw the garbage, the door suddenly slams shut behind her. Startled and terrified, she runs away, overwhelmed by fear. Taylor captures everything on camera, and the footage turns out exactly how Leslie described. The fear, the confusion, the helplessness. It all becomes perfect material for her documentary. As days pass, Taylor begins to grow closer to Leslie. She starts seeing him as a friend rather than a threat, convincing herself that he is only acting for the sake of the documentary. In her mind, Leslie is not a real killer, but someone chasing fame. She believes he simply wants to play the role of a slasher on camera, without ever intending to actually harm anyone. The next day, Leslie takes Taylor to his house, where she meets his wife for the first time. To Taylor's surprise, his wife is not afraid of him at all. Instead, she fully supports everything Leslie does, even helping him with his training and plans. During their conversation, Leslie asks about his uncle, and his wife casually mentions that he has gone into the forest to meditate. This immediately catches Taylor's attention, as she finds it strange and unsettling. Without wasting time, Leslie takes her into the forest to meet him. But what Taylor sees there completely shocks her. Leslie pulls his uncle out from inside a grave, leaving her frozen in fear. However, his uncle calmly explains that this practice is essential for slashers. He claims that by doing this, they gain complete control over their bodies, making it almost impossible for anyone to catch them. He reveals that after years of intense meditation, he can slow his heartbeat down to just 4 beats per minute. This ability allows him to trick even the best doctors into believing that he is dead. Leslie then explains that it was this very uncle who trained him to become a master killer. After returning home, Leslie continues his plan and takes Taylor to a library. He explains that he needs to scare his next target even more. This time, the target is a girl named Kaylee, and Leslie has already prepared a psychological trap for her. He places an old newspaper article on the seat where Kaylee usually sits. The article reveals a dark truth about his past, particularly how his uncle was cruel to his mother. Leslie knows that once Kaylee reads it, she will be disturbed and start asking questions. As expected, Kaylee reads the article and becomes visibly shaken. She approaches the librarian, hoping to understand the truth. The librarian, who knows Leslie and his family very well, begins to reveal their horrifying history. She explains that Leslie grew up in a twisted household where his parents and uncle tortured people. As a child, he was forced to cut up dead bodies, something he hated deeply. He felt trapped and powerless until one day he finally snapped. In a shocking turn, Leslie killed his own parents using the same knives they used on others. He even killed the police officers who came to stop him and later hung his mother's body in the garden. The villagers, terrified by what they saw, threw him into the river, believing that would end everything. When Kaylee asks if his body was ever found, the librarian tells her that it was never recovered. Most people believe that the fish in the river must have eaten him. Before Kaylee can even process this, something even more terrifying happens. Suddenly, Leslie appears behind them wearing a mask. The librarian faints instantly, and Kaylee is left screaming in pure terror. In that chaos, a man suddenly arrives and shoots at Leslie, forcing him and Taylor to escape with great difficulty. Later, Taylor asks Leslie about the man who attacked them. Leslie reveals that the man is his former doctor. He once tried to treat Leslie's mental issues and the trauma from his past, but he failed. Now, he has made it his mission to stop Leslie at any cost. Despite the danger, Leslie is satisfied. His plan has worked perfectly, and Kaylee is now completely terrified. When he returns home, he celebrates his success with his wife and uncle, enjoying the fear he has created. The next day, Taylor decides to meet Kaylee and interview her for the documentary. But before she can even begin, the doctor arrives once again. Having seen Taylor with Leslie, he confronts her directly and questions her intentions. Taylor, unfazed by his aggression, tells him to stay out of their work. But the doctor reveals something that completely shakes her. He tells her that she is living in an illusion, and the person she believes to be Leslie is not the real one. According to him, the real Leslie died years ago. The man she is working with is an imposter who is using the killer's story to gain fame. He claims that he has treated this man since childhood and knows exactly how dangerous he truly is. He warns Taylor that this man is not pretending. He is capable of real murder and will do anything to achieve his goals. The doctor insists that stopping him is extremely important and that Taylor has unknowingly fallen into his trap. Hearing this, Taylor is left completely shaken. Not only does this man know everything about her, but he also knows the truth about Leslie. From the beginning, she believed it was all just an act for her documentary. But now, for the first time, she realizes that this is not a game, and the danger is very real. The truth finally hits hard. Leslie is not acting. He is actually planning real murders, and Taylor has unknowingly become a part of it. Shocked and disturbed, she walks out of the restaurant, trying to process everything she just heard. Outside, she finds Leslie waiting for her, furious. He lashes out at her, accusing her of ruining his plan by talking to Kaylee. He tells her that she has betrayed him and that from now on, she is no longer a part of his plans. Taylor fires back in anger, saying she is not the one who betrayed him. She accuses him of lying about his identity and stealing someone else's story. Despite the heated argument, she eventually apologizes, not because she believes him, but because she cannot afford to lose her documentary after coming this far. Deep down, she still clings to the hope that the doctor was lying and that Leslie is just pretending. But in the middle of their argument, Leslie suddenly loses control. He grabs her by the neck and threatens her, revealing a terrifying side of himself that Taylor can no longer ignore. Later, Leslie blindfolds Taylor and takes her, along with her team, to an abandoned house. This is the place where he plans to carry out his murders. Once there, he begins explaining everything in detail, as Taylor and her team record it all. He shows them exactly where he will bring his victims, where he will tie them up, and where he will kill them. He demonstrates how he will manipulate the lights to create fear and reveals the hidden locations of his weapons. Step by step, he walks them through how each victim will meet a horrific end. To make sure no one escapes, Leslie locks all the doors and sets up traps throughout the house. Anyone trying to run will first fall into a trap, and even if they survive, every exit is blocked. As night falls, Leslie declares that the time has finally come. He prepares himself by putting on terrifying makeup and applying a strange cream all over his body. He claims that this cream will prevent him from bleeding and make him immune to pain. Once ready, he takes Taylor to a treehouse and tells her to stay hidden there. Sitting there, Leslie becomes emotional, overwhelmed by the thought that his dream of killing is finally about to come true. Meanwhile, Taylor still struggles to believe that all of this is real. She continues to encourage him, thinking it is all just an act. But everything changes in an instant. They hear a noise, and when Leslie goes downstairs, he sees his targets have arrived. Without hesitation, he grabs a sharp weapon and brutally slits a man's throat, killing him instantly. Watching this real murder unfold, Taylor and her friends panic. The illusion is shattered. What they thought was a performance is now a deadly reality, and they are trapped inside it. As chaos breaks out, Leslie becomes irritated with their fear. He tells them to leave, saying they are ruining his plan and that they cannot back out now. But Taylor, shaken to her core, pleads with him to stop, telling him that this has gone too far. She reminds him that his story was already perfect for the documentary, that it could have all been fake. But now, he has crossed a line. This is real murder, and there is no turning back. Leslie ignores her completely and walks away. Determined to fix what she has started, Taylor tells her friends that they must stop him themselves. They know his entire plan, and if they act quickly, they might still be able to save the others. They enter the house, expecting to find Kaylee's group, but instead, they see a completely different group of people. This immediately confuses Taylor, and she realizes something is terribly wrong. She remembers Leslie's plan, that only one girl would survive, and that girl would be a virgin. In that moment, a horrifying realization hits her. She is the virgin. She is the one meant to survive. Everything suddenly makes sense. Leslie was never targeting that group. He was targeting her and her team all along. This entire plan was designed to trap them, and now they are the real victims. Taylor tries desperately to warn everyone, but no one listens. Suddenly, a woman bursts in, crying and screaming that someone has killed her husband. Panic spreads instantly as everyone looks outside. There, they see Leslie standing in the darkness. A boy runs out to escape and tries to start a car, but quickly realizes that all the tires have been slashed. There is no way out. Leslie walks back inside as if nothing has happened and starts talking to Taylor again. Trying to stay calm, Taylor assumes he must not have touched their van since he would need it for his own plan. Holding on to that hope, all of them rush outside, desperate to escape before it is too late. They reach the van, but the horror continues. Leslie has already placed dead bodies inside it to terrify them even more. Despite their fear, they push through it, knowing survival matters more. They throw the bodies out and quickly get inside, praying the engine will start. But the moment they try, everything falls apart. The engine refuses to start, and they realize Leslie has tricked them once again. He never damaged the tires. He destroyed the engine itself. There is no escape, and Leslie is coming for them. With no other option, they run back into the house and lock themselves inside a room. Fear takes over completely, especially for Kaylee, who Leslie has been targeting from the very beginning. Unable to handle it anymore, she tries to escape by breaking a window and jumping out. But her desperate attempt ends tragically. She lands on a sharp object and dies instantly. Watching this, Taylor breaks down, realizing that their fate might be the same. Panic spreads, and one of her friends tries to escape through the same window. Before he can make it, Leslie appears and kills him without hesitation. Now inside the room, Leslie has full control. There is nowhere left to run. One by one, he begins killing them, turning the place into a nightmare. Two of Taylor's friends climb onto the wooden beams on the ceiling, trying to stay out of reach. Leslie follows them up, but in a moment of resistance, one of them manages to push him off. Leslie falls hard, and for a second, they believe it is over. Thinking he is finally dead, Taylor and her last friend attempt to escape. But just as they are about to make it out, Leslie rises again. In a brutal moment, he kills the last friend, leaving Taylor completely alone. Broken and filled with rage after watching her friends die, Taylor decides to fight back. She remembers where Leslie keeps his weapons and runs to grab one. As Leslie comes toward her, she strikes him hard on the head, knocking him down. For a moment, she believes she has finally defeated him. But Leslie was only pretending, just like he taught earlier. His body disappears, and Taylor realizes the horrifying truth. He is still alive and still hunting her. Out of nowhere, Leslie attacks again with another weapon. Taylor struggles but manages to snatch it from him. As he tries to strangle her to death, she fights with everything she has left and finally pushes him away. In a final, desperate move, she crushes his head inside a machine, escapes the room, and sets the entire place on fire. Watching the flames rise, she believes it is finally over. Leslie is gone, but the cost is too high. She has lost all her friends. Outside, she breaks down in tears. Just then, the doctor arrives, along with one of her friends who had only been knocked out earlier. Seeing them alive gives her a small sense of relief, and together, they walk away from the nightmare. For a moment, it feels like a happy ending. They survived. But the story is not truly over. In the post-credits scene, we see Leslie inside the burned house, badly injured but still alive. And as long as he is alive, he will come back for revenge.